get out of my property. That's how he looks at me, and I got so freaking scared. I'm like, what's up everyone? Welcome back to my channel. It's Razimor Apter, and I'm glad to see all of you back here for another week of episode. This week I want to do another story time because I see that you're enjoying all these stories that I share from my grinding experiences. And this story I have to share because it's one of the most memorable ones that I have in my head. Not necessarily for a good reason, but not necessarily for a terrible reason either. Before I do continue, I want you to subscribe to my channel, and I want you to click the ring bell so next time I post, you will get notified. And we can stay connected, and we can continue this relationship going, and maybe more subscribers can come on this channel. So please subscribe, and let's start with the story. So this was another grinder day. You know, when I was single, I would actually go on Grindr very often, and I would meet guys very often because it's always you're meeting someone new. And there was this one guy who I kept talking to for a pretty long time, but we didn't meet for a long time. It was this guy who took a picture, like his picture in Grindr was him with his phone taking a selfie of himself on the mirror, like a bathroom mirror. He had like pretty spiked hair, he looked kind of like manly, you know, white. He looked like in like age 27, 28. He says he's only top, and he says he's like dominant, and he likes to play all of these games. And sometimes I'm into those games too. I'm not necessarily into like, you know, BDSM stuff, but I can play some domination submissive games with some of my hookups in the past. So this one guy who I keep talking to for a long time, on and off, hey, what's up, where are you, this, that, and we never actually got to it until one day that I'm like, okay, let's just see who this guy is. And we sent each other pictures. So he sent me some pictures of his face, his body, his bulge from his underwear, so I didn't actually see his dick pic, which is something gay guys send each other very often, if not all the time. I decided to give it a chance. He gave me his address. He wasn't too far from me. It was like a 12 to 15 minute ride, depends on the traffic. And I would usually meet up with guys at night, so there would be no traffic. So I did my thing, you know, shower, cleaning here, cleaning there, like, you know what I mean by that. I get into the car, I drive to the address that he gives me, and I arrive to the address. I park my car, I arrive to the address, and then the street that I arrived to is like pretty dark. Like, it's like the lights aren't like really strong there, and most houses don't have their lights on, so it was a pretty dark street. I come to the address that he gave me. So it was the kind of street that there were like semi-detached houses. So it's a house, like one owner, but it's one like unit divided into two. So it was those kinds of houses. So I come into the address where I go into like one of the units, and the garage there was open. So I thought it's the garage of the guy who I'm going to meet, and he opened it so I can enter it, and then we can go either to the basement or to his room. I don't know where, but I thought that's how he's meeting me. So I slowly go to the garage. I slowly walk there. It was a summer day, so I was wearing a tank top and flip-flops, and I looked, and I had my Jewish star on, and I looked very Israeli because I recently got a haircut then, and that was my look. I go to the garage, and suddenly this like, I don't know, 55 or 60-year-old man with a white beard comes out and like sees me, and he gets scared, and I get scared. He's like, who are you? What are you doing on my property? Like that. I'm like, oh, sorry sir, I don't think I'm in the right place. He's like, get out of my property. That's how he looks at me, and I got so freaking scared. I'm like, is this like the father of the guy I'm supposed to meet, or did I get into the wrong address? Does he have a gun? Is he gonna shoot me or something? Because he looked really mad. I think if this was in the US, I don't know, somewhere in Alabama or in Oregon or any state in the US, I think in all states guns are allowed, he would definitely threaten me with a shotgun, if not be holding one, doing get out of my property, and probably shoot me as I run. But hopefully not. So that's what I was scared of. I remember being like really like, I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? Who is this? And this could have ended really badly, because what if I got into the garage and then he would have seen me and he would think I want to steal something, he would actually do something bad or actually call the police. I was really worried. And then I really walked off quickly, and I looked at the address again and on the Google Maps, and I realized that I wasn't exactly in the right house. The address of the guy was like on the other side of the house, and not just on the entrance of the regular entrance of the house, but on the side of the house. Many houses in Canada, they have separate entrances for those living in the basement. So I think this guy like rented out the basement in the other house. So I went into the other side because he texted me saying that my entrance is from the side, and I knock on the door. And this guy opens the door. First of all, as he opens the door, there was like really not pleasant smell coming out of the apartment. It wasn't his body odor. It was his like, in the apartment smelled like just really not good. It smelled like weed. It smelled like there was sogginess smell, like you know, like when the walls are soggy. I don't know. It didn't smell good. I still went along with it. He opens the door, and he looks at me, and he acts pretty dry and cold, and that was very sketchy to me. He's like, "Oh hey, what's up?" I'm like, "Hey." And I'm very polite all the time. Whenever I would say hi, I would say hi. I would take my shoes off. I would even shake their hand or hug them. But this time it didn't take place that way. I enter the house, and then I'm going down the stairs towards the basement. I'm like, okay, this is really sketchy. It's becoming sketchier than the guy I just saw in the garage. I'm going down, and I see a cat. I'm like, oh, that's a cute cat. And then I started playing with the cat and Kitty. And as I play with him and ask questions about the cat, like how old is he or what's his name, he just stares at me and he doesn't really answer me. I was like, yeah, that's my cat. Like that. I remember every single detail because I remember how scared I was in that moment. But I still went along with it because, you know, it was still one of my first times hooking up. I still give hookups chances more than I would give today if I was single. I would be much less patient. I would leave immediately. He goes down the stairs and he's like, okay, are you ready? And he's asking me if I'm ready because on Grindr we decided we're gonna be like dominant submissive. I'm like, yeah, I guess. Sure, let's start. And he's like, okay, get on your knees and be beside my bed. I go on my knees. And one detail I have to mention, like, this guy did not look anything like the pictures. You know this little picture that I showed you before, that he was kind of muscular, like with his hair spiked up? This guy was with a hat on. His hair was like down like this, sort of like a Hitler style. Sorry, I mixed my hair there. And he had like these very saggy clothes on, and he looked kind of like, not like his picture body-wise. He was kind of like, I don't want to say chubby or fat, but he did not look as muscular as he was in the pictures. And that already turned me off, but I still went along with it because, again, it was one of my first hookups and I didn't feel comfortable saying no to people yet. And I went on my knees and he started saying like, take my pants off. So I started unbuckling his pants and took down his pants, and again, a very unpleasant smell went into my face, and this time it wasn't his room, it was his body odor. And I'm extremely sensitive to bad body odor smell. And he says, grab my you know what I mean. So I grabbed his you know what I mean. I started playing with it and I'm like, okay, no, I can't do this. I'm not into this. And I look up at him and he's like probably like getting horny for this. Like, oh, he's looking up at me. I'm his daddy, yeah. But I looked up at him to say, okay, I'm not into this. I have to stop this. I'm not feeling it. And I'm gonna leave. He's like, okay, man, what the fuck? He goes back, he buckles up his pants, and I'm like, getting up, I'm gonna go, okay? He's like, didn't even say anything. He's like, I went back up. As I go higher, I go really, really, really fast. I open the door and I close the door really hard and I just start running from there. Because everything that's happening in my head, I'm like, what the fuck just happened? I was with someone in the garage. It was probably his dad or something. I don't know who this person was for him. I go there. It's not really the same looking guy that I saw in the pictures. I go down. Everything smells really bad in the apartment. He has a really weird and sketchy cat and he's barely talking to me and he's trying to play with me the dominant submissive game. So not a turn on. Such a big turn off. When you send pictures to someone, send pictures of yourself today and not of you 5 years ago, because this person looked really not as good as they looked in the picture. And the smell, oh my god, the smell, it was so disgusting, both in the apartment and his body odor. I went into the car, just for the interest of it. I smelled my hand. Ugh, I wanted to freaking vomit. It smelled exactly like his freaking gross body odor. And I just went into the closest like Tim Hortons. I remember I drove like really quickly and I legit scrubbed my hand with water and soap as much as possible. I wanted my hand to smell with as much gross soap as possible because the soaps they have in Tim Hortons and McDonald's are really like disgusting, and I didn't care. I just kept washing and washing and washing my hand. I'm like, I'm not doing hookups anytime soon. And I legit didn't meet any guys for a good couple of days. I remember that I really didn't want to meet anyone from Grindr because I like didn't trust anyone anymore. They send me their faces and it's not them. And I'm like, I don't want to get into another like hookup like this that I don't know where I am. So it was really like sketchy and gross, and I'm happy that it finished. But it was something that I had to share with you because this always freaking happens on Grindr. You send a picture to someone, they send you a picture back, you get excited, you go to meet them, and it's not the same person. And whenever you have these stories, it's like they put little traumas in your head that makes you trust these apps less and less because you never know who you're gonna meet and how it's gonna go about. And I just had to share this story with you. One point I want to make for security reasons, whenever I would go to meet someone, because it's a stranger and I don't know who I'm actually going to meet and whether I'm gonna come back home alive from that or not, I would always write to myself on my Facebook. So I would message myself on Facebook Messenger. I would send myself the picture of the person I'm gonna meet, their name, the address I'm going to meet them at, and whatever they told me about themselves. So what they do for work, where they're from, what their nationality is, what their color is. I would always write these things down and send myself as a messenger message, because my friends, my two best, they both had my Facebook password. So I always told myself that if something ever happens to me, I hope they're gonna be smart enough to know to go on my Facebook and check where I am and what's happening to me, if the police would ever need it or if they would be looking for me. God forbid that for that to happen, but I always made sure that I'm on the safe side in that sense. And I always told myself that if someone does something to me or like, I don't know, tries to rape me or stab me or do anything to me, I would tell them like, just so you know, like, I'm not the only one who knows that I'm here, so like be careful. I don't know how much that would help, but I always did that for the safety of it. That is all that I have to say in this week's story. I will share more stories in the future. I hope that I can remember still some of them because, you know, once I became Itzik's boyfriend, I went out of Grindr and all these really cool stories stopped. But I do have funny stories with Itzik too, so I'm gonna share those too. Like this video, comment whatever you thought about this video, subscribe to my channel so we can stay connected, and we'll see you next Wednesday. This was Razimor Apter. I will see you next week. Bye!